In the end, pessimism and optimism are ways of facing reality. It's not what happens to us, but how we interpret it. One day something may seem terrible to us, and another day we can overcome it in a better way. I think we need to work on what is called the neuroscience of happiness, that is, learning how our brain and our emotional world work, not to be happy 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because that is impossible, but to be a little bit happier. It is essential to learn to enjoy the good things that happen to us, because sometimes we are not able to do so and we live blocked from those moments of enjoyment. And, above all, to learn to manage the bad things, so that they do not block us, do not sink us, do not pull us down. Part of the problem with life is that we don't allow the little good things to cheer us up, while the bad things drag us down, mortify us, and lead us to our worst version. Happiness consists of living a healthy and balanced life in the present. That is, connecting with our present in the best possible way, having overcome the wounds of the past and looking forward to the future. Those who live hooked on the past are usually depressed. Those who are trapped in guilt, ghosts, wounds, or traumas are those who suffer from depression. On the other hand, those who live in anguish about the future, with fears and lack of control over what will happen, are anxious. That is where anxiety is, the disease of the future. What will happen? How will I control it? How will I get there? What will happen to my family, my money, my health? These questions take us further and further away from the present. And that is the great illness of the 21st century, the inability to connect with reality, with the present, with people. We are constantly connected to the past, traveling backwards, or to the future, trapped in anxiety, or even connected to a screen. But what I like, what I fight to promote, what I try to spread, are those real human relationships, one-on-one, where we look into each other's eyes. That's where I love to talk about finding your vitamin person, the one that activates oxytocin, the hormone that is released when we look someone in the eyes without judging, when we give long and passionate hugs, caresses, when we say, "I love you," and offer peace when the other person is at war, when we don't judge someone who is having a bad time. In those moments, many things happen biochemically. Oxytocin heals us, boosts the immune system, helps reduce inflammation and lowers cortisol levels, which rise in times of alertness, fear and uncertainty. In a world full of fear, where we don't know what will happen, with economic difficulties and rising prices, we need mechanisms that heal us. That, to me, is the neuroscience of happiness. Christmas is a time of birth, hope and excitement. Believers know that something very big is happening, but we can all recognize that it is a time of family reunion, where feelings of peace are revived. However, it can also be a difficult time because we miss people who have left, who are no longer with us. In addition, there are those people with whom we have distanced ourselves due to conflicts or misunderstandings, and that also generates sadness, because they are no longer at the table, we know where they used to sit and we know that we were not able to solve the situation. My father has a saying that says that when our heart loses its illusions, our soul becomes wrinkled. For me, Christmas is a time to believe again, to have hope and illusion again, and to prevent our soul from wrinkling and losing all the good things in life. One of the things I am most interested in explaining is that the mind and the body are linked. When I studied medicine, I was taught that migraines could have physical causes such as a brain tumor or encephalitis, and then, in the small print, they mentioned emotional causes. According to Harvard University, between 80 and 90% of pathologies in primary care are due to emotional problems. What are emotional problems? Our wounds, our ghosts. And there is something I insist on a lot, our inner voice. The words we say to ourselves internally and how we talk about our realities have a great impact. Words directly influence our cells, our telomeres, which are the ends of chromosomes. That inner voice has the ability to put us in a state of alert, fear or relaxation in a matter of seconds. Knowing this should help us reflect on how we speak to ourselves. What is my inner voice like? Do I treat myself well or do I sabotage myself? You're not going to make it, you're not going to get anywhere in life, it's impossible. When we are aware of this, we must make a drastic change and turn that inner voice into one that supports us and not one that brings us down. May our words to others help generate well-being, calmness and balance, and not fear and alertness. For me, the key is to understand that what hurts and disturbs us the most is fear. Fear sets in for all of us at some point in our childhood, youth, or adulthood, for some reason. And in that fear, we must ask ourselves questions. What is my worst vision of myself? What am I afraid of becoming? What am I afraid of? What do I want to avoid by behaving this way? When we begin to understand our fears, we realize that they are related to the future. We are afraid of losing control, of not being important, of losing recognition, of not being perfect, of disappointing, of suffering. These fears can be grouped into 5 pillars, and we realize that there is always something of the present and the future involved. Our survival instinct, which is the most powerful one that exists, leads us to look for a way to survive. In that survival, we ask ourselves, will I have money in the future or not? The first conclusion I come to is that we live in a tired society. We are exhausted, saturated with information, hyperstimulated, and we increasingly consume information in the fastest and most superficial way, without going deeper. I understand that because of social media and the world we live in, we are all stuck in this cycle, but someone has to stop it. When we consume information in such a superficial way, our prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that helps us manage our emotions, weakens. This affects our ability to think clearly and distinguish right from wrong, and our ability to deal with the world is compromised. This is something we are seeing in young people today. The society of tiredness and saturation leads us to a general apathy. It is difficult for us to get excited because the constant saturation of information and emotions overwhelms us, and there comes a time when we no longer know what to feel. It is like an emotional anesthesia. Surely it has happened to you at some point that, when watching the news or surfing the internet, you suddenly stop feeling. I want to give you this message to end with. I know you have a reason to feel sad today, and I want to remind you that it is valid and understandable. But I also want to remind you that you are a blessed person, full of wonderful things in your life. In the midst of sadness, it is easy to lose sight of all the good you already have around you. I invite you to close your eyes for a moment and think about all the blessings that surround you. What comes to mind? You will surely think about the people who love you, the moments of joy you have experienced, and the achievements you have attained. Sadness can cloud our vision and make us believe that all is lost, but I assure you that there is a bright light in your life, even in the darkest moments. Remember that sadness is only a part of your story, it does not define who you are or your potential to be happy. You are a valuable person, full of strength and resilience. Don't let sadness steal your opportunity to enjoy all the beautiful things you already have. Let's listen to some music, the kind that makes us sing at the top of our lungs and brings us joy. Remember that sadness is just a temporary stage in your life, and I'm sure that everything will soon improve. In the meantime, don't give up, keep going with the certainty that you deserve to be happy. With much love, Kingdom of Riches.